Welcome to the Fair Political Practices Commission, the FPPC's online video tutorial on Behested Payment Reporting under the Political Reform Act. This tutorial provides general guidance to elected officials, California Public Utilities Commission members, and persons who prepare and file behested payment reports. The general information provided in this video is based on the Political Reform Act and FPPC regulations. However, how these rules apply will depend on your particular facts, so you should not rely on this video alone. We recommend that you also review the FPPC's Reporting Behested Payments webpage, which includes examples of formal advice given on reporting requirements and resources such as the Behested Payment Report fact sheet for additional guidance. These FPPC resources and others will be discussed during this video tutorial. And FPPC advice is available to help you if you would like help with your questions. This video tutorial will cover the following topics. What is a behested payment? Including defining commonly used terms and provide examples of behested payments. Reporting requirements, covering the reporting basics. Reporting exemptions and examples. How to file, covering rules for both state and local officials. A detailed step-by-step walkthrough completing Form 803. Detailed disclosure requirements. Amendments, charitable organization solicitations, public records, and lastly, FPPC resources. There are three types of payments regulated by the Political Reform Act involving officials. It is important to understand how behested payments fit in this context. The first type is contributions, which are payments made for political purposes. Contributions are subject to reporting requirements, limits on the amount elected officials can receive, and restrictions as to use. The second type is income, which is a payment received for salary, wages, or proceeds from any sale, and includes gifts. Income is subject to reporting at certain thresholds on the official's Form 700, also known as the Statement of Economic Interests. An interest in a source of income may present a conflict of interest. Note that gifts are payments that confer a personal benefit on the recipient, where equal or greater consideration is not provided in return. Gifts are subject to reporting on the Form 700 at a certain threshold, are subject to limits, and may present a conflict of interest. The third type is behested payments, which are payments made at the behest of an elected official or Public Utilities Commission member for purposes unrelated to seeking or holding office. Importantly, behested payments are subject to reporting requirements, but are not subject to limits. The legislature created the category of behested payments to recognize situations where a payment involves an elected official, but is not a contribution, and does not have a principal purpose of being a gift. This video tutorial will focus solely on behested payments. What is a behested payment? The Political Reform Act defines a behested payment as a payment made at the behest of an elected official or CPUC member, where it is clear that the payment was made for purposes unrelated to the official seeking or holding elective office. Specifically, made at the behest of means made under the control or at the direction of, in cooperation, consultation, coordination, or in concert with, at the request or suggestion of, or with the express or prior consent of the official. Under the Act, payments made principally for charitable, legislative, or governmental purposes are presumed to be unrelated to seeking or holding office. When the official is involved in making a request for payments made principally for a charitable, legislative, or governmental purpose, these are behested payments that are subject to reporting by the official under the Act. Some examples of behested payments include an Indian tribe making a payment to an elementary school at the behest of an elected local school board member, a donation of free eye healthcare exams and glasses at a community service event at the behest of an assembly member, a prominent cable company making a payment to a nonprofit organization, Northern California Educational Solutions, at the behest of the Attorney General, donations that result from a charity's request for funds letter, a solicitation signed by a city council member. There are 4 components to a behested payment: the elected official, CPUC member, or agent who made the behest for payment; the donor, referred to on Form 803 as the payor, is the person who made the payment; the recipient, referred to on Form 803 as the payee, is the person or entity that received the payment; and the purpose of the payment, which must be either a legislative, governmental, or charitable purpose. Remember, if the purpose of the payment was political and for holding or seeking office, then it is a contribution and not a behested payment. If the payment was principally for personal purposes, then the payment is a gift and not a behested payment. Lastly, when a behested payment results in a benefit to the official or their family, the official may have a gift reporting duty on their Form 700, also known as the Statement of Economic Interests, for that portion of the payment. Now we will cover behested payment reporting requirements. First, who files? Elected officials and CPUC members are required to file behested payment reports. Then, what types of payments? As discussed, for behested payments, the payment is made at the behest of the official, and the payment is made principally for a legislative, governmental, or charitable purpose. Many behested payments are the result of an official acting in cooperation or in concert with a charitable organization's fundraising solicitation, particularly for an event. Later in this training, we discuss the rules for determining when an elected official has made a behest for payments in these situations and provide examples. Next, when to file. Officials are required to file within 30 days of a single source making payments that meet or exceed $5,000 in a calendar year. Once that threshold is reached, then all subsequent payments for any amount from the same source in that calendar year must be reported within 30 days. And finally, the why. To provide the public with information about a significant payment transaction involving an official where there is potential for influence, as required under the Political Reform Act. Let's cover some basics when it comes to behested payment reporting. Unlike gifts and contributions, these payments are not subject to any limits. These payments are reported within 30 days once the $5,000 threshold is met by a single source in a calendar year. FEPC Form 803 may be used to report behested payments. A filed behested payment report is a public document. The behesting official has a duty to obtain the required information to file the behested payment report. Next, we'll discuss a reporting exemption when the behest is made in a public appeal for payments. There is no reporting obligation if the official makes a public appeal for payment by means of television, radio, billboard, public message on an online platform, or public speech. However, the official will still have a reporting duty if the public speech was made at a payee's organization's fundraising event, and any one of the following applies. The official consented in advance to be a speaker. the official consented to be featured in a solicitation, or the official publicly solicited contributions to the payee organization. Importantly, the public appeal reporting exemption discussed on the previous slide does not apply where the official or their immediate family or staff is in a decision-making role, a salaried employee, an honorary or advisory board member, or a founding member of a non-government payee organization, or if within 2 years of the payment, the official knows of the payment made in response to their public appeal. Where reporting is required under this circumstance, the 30-day reporting deadline commences on the date the official becomes aware of the specific payment. Let's discuss an example of the reporting exemption. The mayor of Industrial City went on live TV at a fundraising event for the local animal shelter. The mayor made a public appeal for payment to help the animal shelter meet its annual fundraising goals. The reporting exemption applies to the public appeal on television. However, 6 months after the TV appeal, a local business owner tells the mayor that they donated $5,000 in animal care supplies in response to the mayor's appeal. Now that the mayor knows of the behested payment, the official has a duty to report the behested payment within 30 days of this conversation. Next, here is an example of the limits to the public appeal for payments reporting exemption. Assemblymember Glass attended a nonprofit organization's annual luncheon. At the luncheon, Assemblymember Glass makes a public appeal for payments to the organization. The public appeal exemption does not apply because the official made the speech at the organization's fundraising event and publicly solicited the payments. The official will need to find out and report if their behest results in payments that meet the $5,000 from a single source threshold. No behested payment reporting is required if the payment is made by a state, local, or federal government agency. For example, Senator Smith solicits payments to host a town hall event in their district. Senator Smith receives a payment from their local city government for the event. Since the payment was made by a local government agency, no behested payment report is required. Switching gears, now we will discuss how to file behested payment reports. For state elected officials and CPUC members, the Form 803 is filed with the official's agency and is a matter of public record. For state officials, it is the agency's duty to forward a copy of the Form 803 to the Commission within 30 days of receipt of the report. The Commission publishes the information reported on the FPPC's website for the public to access. You can view this reporting data on the FPPC's Search Filing tab of the website. State officials can electronically file their Form 803 with the Commission. Lastly, Form 803s are available upon request and for inspection. Now we will cover local elected officials. For local elected officials, the Form 803 is filed with the elected officials agency and is a matter of public record. For elected local officials, Form 803s are filed with their local agency. The local agency will forward a copy to either the local ethics agency or the filing officer who receives the official's original campaign statements. Lastly, Form 803s are available upon request and for inspection. Next, we will discuss what officials must disclose on the Behested Payment Report Form 803. Officials' information, including their name and contact information. Payor information about the donor. Payment information. Payee information about the recipient of the payment. And a brief description of certain details. We will cover each area in a later slide. In this portion of the video tutorial, we will be presenting a step-by-step guide for completing the FPPC Form 803 reporting behested payments. The first step is to complete the elected officer or CPUC member information. Complete all fields under the elected officer and CPUC member heading. Please note that in the elected officer and CPUC member section, you must list the last name followed by the first name. Disclose a designated contact person, including their name, title, and email address. A business address and phone number may be used for the required information. Lastly, please remember the Form 803 is a public document. The next step is to complete the payor, also known as the donor, information. Disclose the name and address of the person who is making the payment. A business address may be used for the required information. On the next slide, we will cover how to report payments made by a donor-advised fund. If a payor is a donor-advised fund, additional reporting requirements apply. First, let's define a donor-advised fund. A donor-advised fund is a separately identified fund maintained and operated by a Section 501c3 organization called a sponsoring organization. Each donor-advised fund account is composed of contributions made by individual donors. FPPC Regulation 18424.3 requires that when a behested payment is made from a donor-advised fund, the name of payor must include the name of the sponsoring organization, the donor-advised fund, and the donor, to the extent the information is known to the official. If you have questions about these terms, please see the Form 803 instructions for additional information. Please remember to check the box if it is a donor-advised fund and complete the required fields. On the next slide, we will cover how to report payments if the payor is a named party or subject of a proceeding. FPPC Regulation 18424 requires reporting when the payor of a behested payment is involved in a proceeding before the official's agency at the time the behested payment is made, or within the past 12 months. A proceeding is before an official's agency if it has been placed on the agency's formal agenda, or if the official has knowledge that the payor's matter has been submitted to the agency for a decision, and the official may make, participate in making, or otherwise use the official's position to influence the agency's decision on the matter. Please remember to check the box if the payor is a named party or the subject of a proceeding before my agency. You must also provide a brief description of the proceeding. As a best practice, include the date of the proceeding in the description field if known. Step 3 is to complete the payee information. Disclose the name and address of the person receiving the payment. A business address may be used for the required information. On the next slide, we will cover how to report when the official has a role with the nonprofit payee organization. Additional reporting requirements may apply for payee nonprofit organizations where the official, the official's family member, or member of the official's campaign staff or office holder staff has any of the following roles with the payee nonprofit organization: any decision-making capacity within the organization, salaried employment, status as a founding member, position on an honorary or advisory board. Please remember to complete the name and title, role with the nonprofit organization, and include a brief description of the relationship. Step 4 is to complete the payment information. Disclose the payment date and amount. Identify the type of payment by selecting one box, either monetary payment or in-kind goods or services. For donated goods or services, report the fair market value and provide a brief description. Identify the charitable, legislative, or governmental purpose and provide a specific description of the event or purpose of payment. On the next slide, we will cover how to report estimates for payments. When the official makes a behest for payment but is otherwise unaware of the reportable payment information, the Act's reporting requirements necessitate that the official request the information from the payee. Regulation 18424.1 provides a good faith estimate behested payment reporting procedure when an official makes reasonable efforts and is unable to obtain the necessary payment information from a payee within 30 days of the filing date. We will discuss an example of a reasonable effort in the next slide. To file using an estimate, filers must check the estimate box. Affirm that the estimated date or amount reflects the official's best efforts. Identify the reason the accurate information is not available. Please note that within 10 days of receiving the accurate payment information from the payee, the official must file an amendment to their behested payment report to disclose the accurate information. A resource available to officials who are seeking payment information to report on their Form 803 is the FPPC's Sample Written Request Letter to Payee Organization. In the instructions of the Form 803, there is a sample written request for information letter to a payee organization. As a best practice, this request should be sent to the organization that will receive the payments as soon as the official makes the behest for payment. For example, when they agree to be featured in a charity event solicitation. Sending a written request, such as the sample provided, 30 days prior to the reporting deadline will constitute a reasonable effort to obtain the payment information when filing with an estimated payment or estimated date information. See Regulation 18424.1, Subdivision A for more information. The final steps in completing FPPC Form 803 Behested Payment Report include the Comments and Verification section. Use the comment field to add any additional information to the fields reported on in the Form 803. We'll cover filing amendments on the next slide. Date and sign the Form 803 under penalty of perjury. Remember to file Form 803 within 30 days following the date on which the payment or payments meet or exceed $5,000 from a single source in a calendar year. Sometimes filers need to correct an error or omission on the Form 803. When this happens, filers will need to submit an amendment. Be sure to mark the amendment box only if changing or adding information to a previously filed Form 803. Include the date of the original filing or confirmation number of the original submission. Include a brief description of the amendment and the changed or corrected information. Date and sign the Form 803 under penalty of perjury with the date of submitting the amendment. Now we turn to behested payment reporting that results from an official's involvement in a charitable organization's fundraising solicitation. Regulation 18424.2 provides the rules for this type of activity. A payment is subject to behested payment reporting if the payment is made in response to a fundraising solicitation from a charitable organization requesting a payment where the solicitation meets the following. It was sent under the control or at the direction of, in cooperation, consultation, coordination, or concert with, at the request or suggestion of, or with express prior consent of the elected official, CPUC member, or their agent, and it features the elected official or CPUC member. A solicitation features an elected official or CPUC member when it includes their photograph, signature, or singles out the official or member. An elected official or CPUC member is also featured in a solicitation if the roster or letterhead listing the governing board contains a majority of elected officials or CPUC members. Importantly, if neither the official nor their agent gave permission to be featured in the solicitation or otherwise cooperate with the organization, there is no behest for payment. On the next few slides, we will be covering examples of an official being featured in a solicitation. In this example, we have a charitable solicitation involving an elected official. The elected official's photograph and signature are present on the solicitation, and the official is acting in concert with the charitable organization in this solicitation. Therefore, any payments that result will meet the Act's definition of a payment made at the behest of the elected official and are subject to the Behested Payment Reporting requirements. In this example, the elected official would work with the payee organization, XYZ Coalition, to obtain the payment information resulting from this event and charitable solicitation to report on Form 803 Behested Payment Reports. The elected official may wish to use the FPPC sample written request for information from a payee letter to obtain this information. Here is a charitable solicitation involving multiple elected officials listed as part of the host committee and honorary committee. State Assembly Member Cale Ashton agreed to be listed as a member of the event's honorary committee. Under the standards discussed, expressly consenting to be listed in a ceremonial role as an honoree or as a member of an honorary committee in the fundraising solicitation meets the definition of featured. And any payments in response will be subject to the Behested Payment Reporting requirements, not only for Assemblymember Ashton, but any other elected official or CPUC member who consented to appear. Therefore, payments under this circumstance will meet the Act's definition of a payment made at the behest of the official and are subject to the Behested Payment Reporting requirements. In summary of what we have learned today in the video tutorial, please see an example Form 803 with all the fields completed. Remember, all Form 803s are public documents. Original Form 803s must be retained by the filing officer for 7 years. The filing officer must provide public access to these forms during the retention period. No conditions may be placed on persons seeking access. No information or identification is required to view forms. On the FPPC's website, the public can search Behested Payment Reporting data filed by members of the Senate and Assembly and other statewide elected officials. The FPPC has educational materials and resources regarding Behested Payment Reporting. The FPPC website has a detailed web page on Behested Payment Reporting requirements, containing examples from FPPC advice letters and information on enforcement cases regarding violations of Behested Payment Disclosure Rules. Additionally, we offer our Behested Payment Report fact sheet and sample request letter to payee organization as resources. Lastly, if you have questions after this video tutorial on Behested Payments or your reporting requirements, please contact us at FPPC Advice. You can email us at advice@fppc.ca.gov or give us a call at 1-866-ASK-FPPC. Our phone advice hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Thank you for watching our Behested Payment video tutorial. This concludes the presentation. We hope that you will watch our other video tutorials on other topics under the Political Reform Act, such as filing your Form 700, also known as the Statement of Economic Interests, and tutorials for candidates and treasurers.